Sloan, one of the top real estate agents, not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Blake Sloan here. Brand new show this week. I was actually out of town last weekend, so brand new show here. Lots of stuff going on. And I'll tell you, we just had the busiest week of the year in terms of new properties going under contract in the entire MLS. So we'll talk about that, but I was shocked to see that, and it's pretty significant. So significant drop, so 20% increase in terms of volume week versus week. And so wild stuff there. I think some people are just kind of get back in that groove. You're seeing that fall market already start a little bit early, which is awesome. So we'll talk about that. But we also have the brand new numbers in from last month that closed. Interesting. Some areas saw a decline. Some areas saw an increase. Residential homes saw a little bit increase in price, which is good news overall. And so condos are still getting hurt a little amount, but not quite as bad as it has been. So we'll talk about kind of what's going on there, what to look for. Also, so we're going to look at what price predictions are for the second half of 2025. And a few big major players in the industry are calling for decline. So we'll talk about that, what that means for home sellers, what that means for home buyers, and kind of what to look for overall with that. Also look to do, I had this on the list from last week's show, from 2 weeks ago when we were back in the studio, is that what to do when you're buying and selling at the same time. We call it delicate dance. A lot of people kind of screw that up. They do the wrong things in the wrong order, and it hurts them in terms of their negotiation power, both on the buy side and the sell side. And so I'll talk about that. And it all depends on situation and kind of who you are and what you're looking to do. You always kind of want to do the right things in the right order, and you also want to make sure you do both at the same time. In many cases, the delicate dance is what we call it. So that's super important to look at overall. We also just bought another property on Friday with our investment fund, closed on it. It was a person who looking to move back to Virginia, and had listed another agent, had a terrible experience. They just wanted to get a fair price. We came in, pretty much bought it nearly almost the same price, and got it simple, easy. They were loving it, got the cash they want, fair price, all through the investment fund. We'll talk about what that was like overall. Also, our team's looking to hire our entire real estate team. We have the number one real estate team in Myrtle Beach by a significant amount, one of the top teams in the country. And we're still hustling hard. We're still spending massive amounts of money in marketing while lots of people have been running for the hills. They've been batting down the hatches, obviously, because the market's been a little bit difficult. We've been doubling down. So we're looking to add people to our team. If you're an experienced agent, listening to this, watching it, reach out to me. If you're somebody who's thinking about it, you're not super happy in your career, and you just want to get back and get face-to-face people. We have a great team to back you, great training. We have massive, great coaches from the industry who coach our entire team. I coach our entire team. We have high standards, and it's something that's a great workplace. And if you want to reach out to me, you can also go to sloanscholarship.com, and we can help you get licensed through our real estate school. But just lots of stuff going on. We're also looking to continue to buy houses through our investment fund, also looking to buy commercial businesses, specifically service-based businesses out there. Anybody know, maybe thinking about that, have them reach out to me. You can always call us at 843-808-SOLD. And as usual, if you ever want to come back and watch the show, listen to the show again, the best place, go to YouTube and just type in Blake Sloan Radio Show. We stream those every single week on there. Also, we actually stream on Facebook. You can go to follow me at Blake Sloan or Sloan Realty Group and watch those on there. But as usual, we have one main goal: to provide value for you in terms of real estate, which for most people is our largest assets, and help you make better decisions overall. Been doing that 15 plus years in the station, so make sure to stay tuned in today.
For any new listeners, just to give you an update on just who Blake is, it's an amazing story. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He has been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. One of those by itself is an accomplishment. All of them together is unprecedented. Last week, we learned a little about how you and your team work, and how a good portion of your success has come from the trademark systems you have developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly, and a quick overview of how they work, Mike.
Yes, Rick, and I'll tell you, this is why it's so important. And this is the whole reason to the show, the only reason to the show. It's really the most fulfilling part of doing the show. Obviously, it takes some work, some research, and I just want to help save people from making these terrible decisions. But I was talking about this last night. I'll share another horror story with you. I hear this over and over and over. But here's the deal. Everyone makes the same mistakes over and over. Even the most affluent people, and I'll say doing this business 20 plus years, the most affluent people make the mistake the worst. They tend to judge the most and pick like the housewife who just happens to live in a neighborhood who does 2 sales a year thinking they're the expert, but meanwhile, they don't really do anything. They have no marketing budget, but they sold 3 or 4 in the neighborhood, so they think they're the expert. But meanwhile, you have people who do way more business, way much bigger reach, way bigger, let's say one person's got the small mud puddle, one person's got a giant lake or a giant ocean of clients and buyers. One gets you more experience than the other. Here's the deal. The single most important variable that determines your success or failure as a home seller comes down to one thing only. And the thing is the agent that you choose, period. But the problem is consumers make this mistake of thinking that all agents are the same, just like commodity. And it could not be any further from the truth. Now, are a lot of agents similar? Yeah. To most agents, not that good. Yeah. Are the average agents pretty terrible? Yeah, definitely. But there is a massive difference, especially when you start talking about that top 20%, make a massive difference, right? The top 20% of anything produces 80% of results, and that's in any type of business or any type of sales business. And so you always want to make sure that you understand that, but you also want to know, like, what are the right questions to ask? That's one thing I've talked about in doing this for 20 years is that most consumers I've never had anybody ask me like the right questions. They ask the wrong questions, which is like, how much do you charge? Which is not the right question to lead with, right? Like, you want to know, like, what do you do? What makes you different? How do you make my property stand out? What's your marketing program look like? Like, those are the things you want to understand. What makes you different than my neighbor over here? What makes you different than my friend who just got licensed? Like, you want to know the nuances and the ins and outs, but most people don't realize it's a very difficult, nuanced sales process that also has a long sales cycle. So there's 100 plus variables that make or break the home sale. If each one's handled correctly, it puts money in your pocket. But anything's handled incorrectly, aka you drop the ball at any point, that costs you your hard-earned equity. What happens in many cases, the property does not get sold. And so it just happens over and over and over. Just like any doctor, any lawyer, what are all those having in common? It's a service-based business, right? Just like any restaurant, right? Sometimes you go to a restaurant, have phenomenal experience. Sometimes you go to the same restaurant, have a terrible experience. The difference is the human that they actually dealt with and how they execute. It could be from the waitress or waiter to the cook, to the hostess, to the manager, whatever it is. Those details make a massive difference. And so when you're talking about a sales cycle, the 100 plus variables, and you have one person trying to juggle all those, is simply impossible. Now, here's the crazy part, right? When you're selling a property, 118 different variables. If you have one agent doing that, that's like having the same person do the front register, the drive-thru, and French fries at the same time at McDonald's, and then wondering why you have a bad experience. But for some reason, real estate people still operate that old school cassette tape mentality where you have one agent doing everything, and it's simply impossible to do on one listing, especially in today's marketplace with so many websites, so much technology. But that agent is not just doing it on your listing, they're doing 6 or 8 other listings at the same time, which is why over 50% of properties don't sell. And so you're stuck there with a 50% chance of your largest asset actually getting sold, but you're not really understanding the process of how to do that. And that's what we want to teach on this program. And so the single most important variable, like I mentioned, that determines success or failure is the agent you choose, period. And most agents drop the ball. It could be anything from, does the agent actually answer the telephone when somebody comes in? What's the quality of photos? What's the order of photos? What's the pricing strategy? What's the negotiation strategy? And so you got to realize all these things matter. If you look at the math, the average agent in our MLS sells less than 4 homes per year. That's 1 per quarter. So there's not a whole lot of money to eat with, much less spending in marketing, much less have a pulse or understanding what's happening in the marketplace. And here's the deal. If they're selling 4 houses a year, they're desperate to get a deal, and they're going to throw you under the bus in 2 seconds. How do I know that? Because I see it happen every single day when I'm on the opposite side of the transaction, and we are actually coming from a position of prosperity and strength, and we watch the other agent throw their client under the bus in 2 seconds. Happens every single day. And so there's also just all these other nuanced things that happen. I was talking to somebody last night who's let's say a good acquaintance, probably might be watching this online. We're friends on Facebook, but great guy, travels a lot for business, but he just bought a $650,000 property in Market Commons, listed his property with a quote friend, agent, and the one he lived in prior. So now he's stuck with 2 homes, right? And he's owned this other one for over 6 months. So he's paying 2 mortgages for over 6 months. Hired his first agent, no traction, no action. He had an open house scheduled, trying to get something going on. He's out of town on business. His phone's blowing up. His neighbor is like, hey, man, you have all these people in your front yard right now, looking at your house. And he's like, cool, tell them to go in because it's an open house today. And he said, well, the problem is, the neighbor said, the problem, there's no realtor at your house. They're just out in the front yard and they can't get in because there's no realtor. It turns out realtor didn't even show up. He had an open house. They put it on online. It was a great property. People wanted to come look at it. And guess what? He never even showed up to his own open house. And I hear stuff like this happen all the time. I see it happen all the time. And so this type of stuff you deal with, and that's a service-based option, right? And then when he called him and said, hey, man, what's going on? The agent told him, hey, I forgot. And obviously that's not really something that people do intentionally. They're just trying to juggle all the balls, and there's a lot to do. And that's just what happens when you have a business model that is broken. And so he switched agents to a different agent. I don't know why he went with some average agent who sold like 2 homes in the last year. And guess what? Still not sold. One, you're in a difficult market, a slow marketplace with lots of resistance. You have to have some type of money and marketing behind it to differentiate it, to get it under contract or get it sold. And so that's just what you understand. This is what happens all the time. Same thing with buyers out there, right? If you're buying, the most important variable when you buy your property is the agent you choose. There's much more than just finding the property. That's 1 out of 100 plus variables that has to happen in the process correctly, all the way from negotiation to offer strategy to negotiation of purchase price, home inspection, all these things that happen. The number one mismanaged variable when people buy is interest rates. They don't really understand that. They focus so much on purchase price and don't focus as much on interest rates that cost them a lot of money over the life of the loan. And so what I did when I got in the business, I'm like, there's got to be a better way. This old school cassette tape model does not work too well in today's time. And so we started building this thing, and I built this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System. It's what got a feature in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Fox News, all of that. And what it is, it's the only proven system that sells homes twice as fast and for 20% more money than traditional methods, and it works very, very well. It's designed, backed up by 2 main things: a large team of people, 25 plus agents. We have inside sales team and outside sales team. We have a listing coordinator, closing coordinators. We have full-time photographer, videographer, full-time graphic design. So we handle all those items all in-house, where here's the key: a team of specialists. When you deal with an agent who's doing everything, that's a generalist. And when you have a generalist, they can't master anything, right? They're just playing whack-a-mole trying to get the squeaky wheel to keep everyone happy, but there's no processes, there's no bandwidth for them to be able to execute at a high level because they're too busy juggling too many balls. And so with us, a team of specialists can execute with precision, and it happens like that the same way every single time, which is how you get a predictable result, right? And then we also backed up with technology. We built out a proven, repeatable system, so we know exactly what has to happen in the right order. And what we do is we stack the dominoes. We create a gap, right? Leverage for our client at point 1, leverage for our client at point 2, leverage for our client at point 3, through all those 118 different variables, and you stack those up. The small gaps create a massive gap at the end, and that's how we give our client a massive competitive advantage. Like I mentioned, that's called the Guaranteed Sold System. For buyers out there, we create the same type thing for buyers that gives them an advantage. It's called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Gives you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation in purchase price, as well as the home inspection, to give you that competitive advantage. Everybody on our team is a certified real estate expert. We train at the highest level. We have exterior coaches who help train our team to make sure they can negotiate better. We market better, we execute better, and we're super intense, as you can probably tell, in terms of execution. So you owe it to yourself when you're talking about your largest asset, your friends, your family. They deserve to have someone who can execute at the highest level when you're talking about large assets. And for most people, the largest assets. If you want to know more how that works and the difference, reach out to me, call me, 843-808. So we're hustling this weekend, we're working this weekend. You can also watch a detailed documentary about us and what makes us different. It's been a game changer for a lot of our clients to kind of learn and see how it works at blakesloan.com. We'll take a quick break, right back here in a second.
That I recommend, Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. And thanks for joining me today. A lot of real estate companies are making instant offers these days. What makes yours different from what they're offering?
Hey, Sean, that's such a great question. The massive difference is when you actually buy your house. Most of those advertisements you hear even on the same station are wholesalers. They're just there to lock your property up at a discount price and try to assign it to someone else, make money off your hard-earned equity. Then they leave you hanging at the closing table if they can't find someone else. They never had any intention of closing. Most don't even have the money to close if they wanted to. We're local, we have billions of dollars, and we actually close the deal.
All right, thanks for keeping us up to date. Find out how much demand your home can command right now. Call the agent that creates the most demand. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com. And consider your home sold.
Hi, I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers in a time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, they can after their home or even rent.
That's great. And if the seller has a big board time,
Use our proven marketing plan and sell it for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Brand new market update, all kind of stuff going on. I tell you, it is interesting what I've seen. I was telling my team the last 2 days, like, man, this is awesome. So we've been tracking two main metrics in this. I'm a big nerd for numbers. Why is that? Because that's the language of business, is numbers and math, right? So what happens is we track everything. Since COVID started, I had this realization that most entire industry companies, leaders, everything, use closed data, which is great. The problem is if it closed last month, which is when everyone gets the data from last month, they tally it up at the end, right? We have the brand new, fresh off the printer numbers from last month. Today, we'll talk about that, but they closed last month, right? With this situation would have been July, but they closed in July. Guess what? It went into contract 30 to 60 days prior to that. And so you could be using data that's 3 months old. And so we want to use real-time data to make good decisions, pick strategy, advise our clients. And we do that based on properties that go under contract the previous 7 days. I did that during COVID when everyone's freaking out. I was kind of freaking out, wasn't sure what to do, but I wanted to make a decision about marketing or not. I kept going in marketing. I told everybody on this show, I'm doubling down when everyone else stopped everything. But I did that because I knew what was going on and I knew properties were still pending. There was a short, brief time when people freaked out, but then everyone started coming down here from up north, buying stuff. And so it allowed us to really capture some market share. But we have the rear view mirror numbers. That's what closed last month. With the front windshield numbers. That's what's happening real time right now. Talking about those first, that's what went under contract the previous 7 days for the entire MLS. Anytime you're at 200 million, things are smoking. Anytime you're near 500 properties under contract in a 7-day period, things are smoking. Last week's show, for example, there was 541 properties under contract for 203 million. That was 10% up from the week before that at 490 properties at 191 million. So check this out. This week, the last 7 days, right now, 589 properties under contract for 238,600,000. So massive increase there, which is huge. That's a 9% increase week over week and a 20% increase from 2 shows ago, which is crazy. And so obviously you're getting through the end of summer, different type of buyers coming in. We're seeing a lot of high-end buyers, some big time money coming in. Check this out. One property of $5 million under contract the last 7 days, 6 properties over $2 million under contract, and 29 properties over $1 million under contract in the last 7 days. I was telling my team this morning, I remember when I was in the business, just starting out, you would see like 2 or 3 homes the whole year that would be close to 2 million. And now you're seeing 6 in a week, 1 at 5 million, and 29 over 1 million. There's some big time money coming, a lot of that cash deals. A lot of big money coming from up north, from other areas. And thankfully, we do a lot of high-end stuff, too. We have a great connection with Barbara Corcoran and her company and people that are connected through New York City. But that's one really good thing for us. But check it out. Huge numbers, right? 589 under contract, 9% increase week over week, 20% increase 2 weeks. And volume was up 17% week over week. It went from 203 million to 238,600,000, a 17% increase week over week. And so what that means is we're in that that fall market where buyers are a different type of buyer, a little more high-end buyer, right? Kids go back to school. People who would like to avoid the crowds a little bit are here, and it's been super busy. When I flew back in town on Monday last week, the airports were packed, and I was shocked. I was like, man, this is crazy. Even getting to the Myrtle Beach airport, it was busier then than it was in Thanksgiving last year, which is crazy. So lots of people in town, lots of people buying stuff. Our team's been working around the clock, getting stuff. So if you're thinking about selling, tee it up to the seasonality, right? The last thing you want to do is just drag your feet and try to do this in November, because everyone gets analysis paralysis about November, really October 31st, November 15th. They get the holiday brain, right? Everyone starts to get their pause. They want to buy. They start thinking about the holidays. And so that's the one thing you want to get this fall market, take advantage of it. Weather's still good. Picture's still good. And so if you're thinking about selling, reach out, call me overall. But great news overall with that. Looking at closed sales, which is the rear view mirror numbers last month, single family home sales down 10.8%. And that's something we talked about that we thought would happen based on just some slower sales, lots of resistance in the marketplace, right? A little bit higher rates. People are just kind of getting some of that buyer fatigue. So 10% from the same month last year at 470 properties sold. It's actually down from the previous month. So June, there's 558. July, 470. So significant decline month versus month overall there. Sales price actually holding pretty strong, ironically. Single family home sales, the price for median price up 5.7%. That's year versus year. So that's July versus July. July 2024 versus July 2025 up 5.7%, which is good news, which is a little bit shocking based on some of the stuff that we're seeing out there. And that's going to be very localized based on your neighborhood, what you're at, zip code, things like that. And if you look at, because there is a big competition right now in new construction, they're offering crazy incentives, super high commissions, very low interest rates, and they're in at very good margins. So they're offering great prices to a lot of buyers out there to buy their properties. And so if you look at average sale price of 5.3% at 502,000, which is amazing. If you look back just in June, the average sale price 469, July 502. So that's a $30,000 increase just in one single month for average sale price for actual houses. Look at month supply actually went down, and you saw a big run recently. Inventory went down, which is crazy. It went from 5.4 months to 5 months overall. There's two main reasons for that. Number one, property selling. Number two, there's a lot of sellers who've gotten frustrated, their property not selling. They don't want to reduce the price, so they pull it off the market, and they're putting their plans on hold, which I'm not sure that's the greatest option. If you're looking to move and you have a pain, a real reason to move, they're feeling locked into what they're doing. But there's a lot of people there's some national articles out there that saying it's the biggest D list they've ever seen since it's been tracked across the country. And a lot of sellers, they're still thinking it's 2021, 2022. They have this pie in the sky kind of number in their mind. A lot of weak agents are desperate. They don't advise their clients. They're what we call order takers. They do whatever the person says, gets listed, doesn't sell. They get frustrated, and then they just take it off the market. And so we're seeing a lot of that across the country, not just right here in Myrtle Beach, but that's a big reason you're seeing that happen as well. And there's also a lot of stuff that's getting sold, which is great news too. So if you look at also showings per listing, right now the average listing gets 3.8 showings the entire time it's listed. The average listing is about 6 months. You're talking about a showing every other month for the most part. The major problem is, check this out, it takes 13.3 showings to get an offer based on the data. How do we know that? There's this company that tracks every showing through every real estate company in the entire MLS. It's what we book through in the MLS. And so they know the data. And so the average listing gets 3.8, let's say 4. It takes 13.3 to get an offer. That means you need 3 times the amount of showings that the average listing gets to get an offer. It means you average 13 sets of people or couples or whatever, or people coming through there to get an offer. But most agents just take your listing, they put it to MLS, they pray someone else brings a buyer. And so they're really only getting 1/3 of the traffic that you need to actually get a contract. And that's why the agent you choose matters more than anything else. So your friend who's working part-time at Olive Garden and just got their license, guess what? They're not going to get the job done in this current market. You need somebody who's got money and has got eyeballs that they can direct towards your property to get the traffic you need to actually get to 13 showings, to get someone who can like it enough to pull the trigger. Simple math. Like I said, math is basically the language of business, and that's what you have to understand when you break it down. We show all this to our clients, and it's super important to understand. Condo market really quick. Condo sales, check this out. Last month down 23.6%. So huge drop there. Overall, condo market has been facing significant headwinds based on insurance issues, based on assessments issues, based on some upkeeps, things like that. So there's a lot of fear right now in the marketplace overall. We have seen some stuff actually move, though, based on certain areas. Right now, median price for condos down 8.2% year versus year. If you look at, they kind of peaked out this year in April at 245, right now at 225. Average sale price for condos down 7% year versus year. They peaked out this year in May at 286, right now 257, which is crazy. And so months of supply, it was huge. It's actually down a little bit last month. Right now it's 8.4 months of inventory. It peaked out right in May at 8.9 months. Right now it's 8.4 months. So it's going back down again. Same type reason. People are just kind of holding, bunkering in a little bit. In many cases, when they're not getting what they want, they're having to kind of come to reality of what's happening in the marketplace. And again, if I have a condo, the last thing I'm doing right now is riding this thing down. I do not see a short-term or long-term fix for insurance issues. I do not see a short-term or long-term fix for a lot of these assessment issues. And so you're going to see that continue to happen where people are staying away from condos. It's happening in Florida, happening here. And so if I'm in a condo right now, I'm thinking about doing something, I want to probably reallocate my money there, get out of condos, get into single families or multifamilies. That would be my strategy overall. For sure. So I don't see insurance stopping the increase. I don't see insurances getting any better. And obviously that's causing a major issue for people. And also it hurts cash flow, both short-term and long-term rentals overall. So same thing there, showings to listing. The average condo listing and townhouse, they're grouped together, gets 2.1 showings. So that's crazy if you think about one showing every 3 months on average for a condo, which is terrible. And so you want to make sure you have someone who can get the traffic and the showings you need. How many showings does it take to get a contract on average? 9.3. and she needs 4+ times the amount of showings that the average listing gets to get a contract, you have to have someone. You cannot go with an average agent right now and expect success. And so that's why you need somebody who has money, who has backing, who has the ability to drive traffic. And so that's the key right now to what you need. Months of supply we talked about. So here's the deal, right? You want somebody who can back that up. How do we do that? What makes us different? Why do I bring it up? Because we spend $100,000 a month in marketing. Our sales team makes 10,000 phone calls per week on average. We track it. We're here to hustle. We take those buyers that we have. We obviously match them up to our listings. Why is that? Because that's what I'm in business to do, is make money and actually sell the property. And so we hustle, right? I'm not out playing golf on Tuesday. We're here hustling, making phone calls, getting stuff done for our clients, which is what we're best at overall. So really quick, what's driving a lot of this? Interest rates. Interest rates, hopefully we'll see go down next week based on the jobs numbers that came out, some revisions on that. We'll see what kind of happens here overall. But last week's show, interest rates, I think 6.82 right now, or 6.75, which is decent. We'll take it for a 30-year fixed. That's what's holding everything on right now. That's what's really kind of putting the brakes on the real estate market right now, is higher rates. You get to 6.5, things are going to be great again. We'll start to see things move a little bit better. I like to see them down to 6 and a little bit below 6, but 6.5 last time we saw a huge kind of pump up in the market a little bit. Right now, a 15-year fix, 6.03, a 30-year jumbo loan, 6.86, a 30-year FHA loan right now, 6.33, and a 30-year VA loan, 6.34%. So we'll keep watching that. Hopefully next week's show, we'll see that go down. We'll take a quick break, right back in a second with our hot buyers alert. How much time we got, you know? We're already over? Already?
Maybe not. Really tell because I'm using 2 different timers.
I'm showing 27 minutes, so I'm thinking I got a minute left.
Tell you what, the way Rick showed me do it is a whole lot better.
Well, let's just do one commercial and then I'll come back. Yeah.
Don't do the Gary Leonard. Okay.
So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty.
10 seconds.
Give Blake a call today and start hacking that Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake Show Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:38.
Welcome back, Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Really quick, hot buyers alert. We're down to like 2 minutes. We have a massive amount of buyers looking to buy here in the Myrtle Beach, Grand Trenton area. We outspend the average agent 100 to 1. We're spending $100,000 a month in marketing right now. 80,207 active home buyers, 80,207 active home buyers from all over the globe. So if you're thinking about selling, if your friend, relative, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, whoever it is, if they're thinking about selling, so you got to call my buddy Blake. Give them my number, 843-808. So we have what we call buyers in waiting. We get them matched up immediately versus waiting to put a sign in the yard and then pray and hope someone comes. And so that's how we sell properties faster. That's how we get you to enough traffic, get an offer. So have them reach out to us. Really quick success story. Erin, she wanted to move back to Virginia to be closer to family. Unfortunately, listed with an average agent, had a, quote, terrible experience, no communication, only a few showings, no offers. Thankfully, she referred to us by an amazing radio listener. We came in, gave her multiple options. She wanted our instant cash offer versus the traditional route. We came in, made a fair, great cash price, closed in 2 weeks. She was amazingly happy. We closed there on Friday. She's on her way to Virginia with maximum money in her pocket, easy convenience, and super happy. So if you want to be like that, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. You can also go to blakesloan.com anytime. We're here to help serve you. We'll see you back here at the same time next week.
Want to see you do that in person. And you hear it on the radio, it's crazy.